Ready. Play.
Hello everyone. We're of course going to be watching Martin Etcheverry against Novak Djokovic. As you probably gathered from the title, they are just starting up. First point, Novak serving. To briefly talk about what's happening, of course, the Australian Open third round. Djokovic has been struggling with a viral infection of sorts so far. He beat Dino Prismic in 4 sets, very long match, very physical. Then against Alexei Popyrin, I guess it was a little less physical, but he actually could have gone down 2-1. He had to save 3 consecutive set points, then I think also a fourth one at 4-5 in the third. So easily he could have lost the third set there, and then actually Popyrin suddenly has a good shot at an upset. Today he's playing Martin Etcheverry, who of course is more famous for his clay runs, Roland Garros quarterfinalist from last year. But it doesn't have to be easy. Etcheverry has been improving on hard courts. He's almost 2 meters tall, and yet his serve was pretty pedestrian up until recently. But now actually he is able to take a lot more out of it. It still has untapped potential, I would suggest. His forehand should be working in any conditions, so yeah, it's not that much of a surprise to see him begin having results everywhere, really. And when it comes to their matchup so far, they've played twice, Rome and Paris both last year. Paris was not that competitive. Rome, I guess, had a tiebreak first set. The main idea for Etcheverry here is, I think, just play his own brand of very grueling physical tennis, which he loves. And see if Novak is up for it physically, which I guess we don't really know if he is. And if Etcheverry is able to extend it into 4 hours or something, maybe it's doable. Etcheverry actually has a 4-0 record in matches that went over the 3 hours and 50-minute mark, which is a couple of challenger matches, best of 3 sets against Renzo Olivo and against Camilo Ugo Carabelli, and also 2 matches at the Slams last year against Bernabe Zapata Miralles and also against Otto Virtanen at the US Open. Has to be said though that the match against Zapata Miralles was over 2 days, so it wasn't a proper 4-hour and something match, whereas the other 3, of course, were just played from start to finish. I keep mentioning this because I have to use every excuse that I can to bring up the matches against Etcheverry Olivo and Etcheverry Ugo Carabelli. It's my duty to do it. Absolute classics of the South American circuit. I mean, Djokovic has come out firing. Let me tell you that. He's now on the first 5 points. Big serving in the first game, and now this forehand trade that they were playing. I mean, Djokovic just ends up hitting the most ridiculous forehand cross court I've ever seen. Incredible power, incredible angle, incredible placement. Of course, it's a hyperbole when I say that this is the most ridiculous forehand cross court I've ever seen. However, it was really quite insane. But Etcheverry finds an ace. He's first of the match, obviously. We don't really have. I'm not sure if John is gonna be up pretty soon, so we'll try to have a scoreboard on later. I can't do it myself. Not that I don't have permission or something. I just don't know how to. But perhaps I will try to just put the score on the banner any changeover we get, and at least that's how we will do it for now. That's a really nice attacking point from Etcheverry here. Good depth, finishes it off with the backhand cross. I don't know if this sort of hitting is sustainable for him, but the improvements he's made on hard courts are real. The improvements he's made in general are real. He was a guy who in 2021 won a couple of challengers. He made 15 challenger quarterfinals that year, and we were all thinking that 2022 is when he transitions to the main tour. It took him a year longer, but I'm so glad that he did it because it's clearly improving his game as we speak. Another ace down the tee as well. And yeah, as I said, on the changeover, I'm going to put a score on a banner for now, and then hopefully John wakes up at some point, because I think he was planning to watch Anisimova Badosa, then go to sleep. I had like more of a nap in the middle of the day today, which basically ended just 2 minutes ago, which is why you might notice that I am a little, you know, I have this got out of bed energy, if you may. Djokovic tries to go for the backhand down the line here, and I think he found it. Yes, Djokovic starting like really, really aggressively. So is Etcheverry, really. So this isn't so far, about the grueling rallies that we expect from these guys. This isn't so far about the tough physical workout. But I do think we'll get there. I do think we'll get there eventually. Maybe especially as we sort of go more into the night and the conditions become slower. Big serve, Etcheverry, forehand inside in. It's really good, but is it enough to kill Djokovic? Not, but the forehand drop shot is. So it's one game all now. Really good start from both. Like really, Etcheverry's hitting has been sublime, and Djokovic is just so much more aggressive than the previous two matches. Yeah, I think Bainap came at the right time, since there was just like one match happening in singles at the time, which was Frank Zakharova, and I wasn't too invested in it, despite being Polish. But yeah, Magda Frank, fourth round at a slam. First time in her career. It was only her second, third round after Wimbledon. Which Wimbledon? I think 2022, where she lost to Simona Halep. So big step for her. But of course, she's playing Coco Gauff next, and yeah, that's not really gettable, I think. Not for a player with her playstyle and with her lack of weaponry, I believe. She would be holding up much better against a player of like against an Alicia Parks, who obviously lost to Goff, winning just 2 games, or against someone like Caroline Garcia, that she beat someone really aggressive, where she's like mostly reacting to what's happening on the other side of the net. Wow, I mean, they've been sharp so far. Etcheverry hits a very good inside out forehand, and Djokovic just takes it backhand down the line. This isn't the Djokovic of the first two rounds. I mean, we're gonna have to wait and see what's like the next 2-3 hours look like, But so far, he looks very aggressive, very sharp, very focused from the get-go. And that was a really insane shot to redirect that forehand inside out from Etcheverry like this. Failed drop shot attempt, though. Seemed like the right play, though. I did think that the opportunity was there, but he nets it. We have some yawning early on as well, obviously. We are still a bit early in the day. Lob from Etcheverry. It's not good enough, but there's going to be a second one. Djokovic smashes it really well, though. I recently read somewhere that, like, I don't remember what it was even, but someone tried to call Djokovic smash the worst of any player, any number one in history, which is just so wrong, right? Like, come on. It's just nowhere near. Oh, sorry. It's just nowhere near what actually is true. I mean, of course, it is a bit of a meme. It is one of the weakest shots in his game, but of course, that's not. It's not like he misses half of them, and he can actually make very tough smashes as well. Djokovic Etcheverry 2-1 for Novak so far on serve, but as I said, Djokovic has come out hitting very aggressively. Let me see what else is happening as well. Of course, we had some other results. Sinner totally demolishing Baez. I mean, he looks great. He seems like the guy who will be very hard to stop. And unless your name is Novak Djokovic or Carlos Alcaraz, you might have extreme issues doing that. Thomas Mahac kind of blew the match against Karen Khachanov. I know it was just a 4-setter, but 2 out of 19 on breakpoints, whereas Khachanov was like 2 out of 3 at the same time, I think. So yeah, a pretty stark contrast there. He easily could have won the second set, Mahaj. He kind of easily could have won the fourth as well. So, but yeah, after he lost the second and he was 2 sets down, he was always playing catch up, and of course that's pretty tough as well against someone like Kachanov, who is just so solid, has such a solid base level. Taylor Fritz beats Fabian Maroshan in four. A little disappointed with what Fabi showed, I think. He basically got a little startled by the big serve, and also the fact that Fritz started really going after his counters and just like hitting everything big, even from defensive positions, to keep him behind and to keep like negate his timing advantage, which I think that Maroshan just didn't really handle. And the last 3 or 4 sets, the last 2 sets, of course, set 3 or 4, I think Maroshan just kind of looked like he was going through the motions. Like, I don't want to say he didn't care anymore, but he wasn't playing like actively. His mind wasn't in it. Now maybe we're seeing more of the rallying that we expect from these guys. Etcheverry looping the forehand a couple of times and Djokovic misses it down the line. Tsitsipas also crashed Luka Van Asch, which I guess we were expecting because Luka is nowhere near ready for that sort of caliber of play, in my opinion, for now. In fact, I think there's a couple of Challenger 125 titles he's dropping soon. He might be outside of the top 100 when he does. But, well, he got 90 points here, or actually with the new round by round distribution, I think even 100. So maybe he will be fine. But, yeah, his run was pretty weak to the third round, and Tsitsipas, I guess, was expected to capitalize on that. Very not missing so far, and it's Djokovic who fires the backhand down the line into the net again. Adrian Mannarino playing Ben Shelton. This is the potential round 4 opponent for either Djokovic or Etcheverry. So this is also a match that we will be keeping sort of tabs on. And for now, it's the Frenchman, the eccentric Frenchman who leads by a set. 7-6 was the scoreline with which he won it. Deminor and Koboli also starting up alongside this match. And another one that started pretty much at the same time was also Beatriz Haddad-Maia against Maria Timofieva. So after these 5 matches that will be completed, we only have 2 more coming. Storm Hunter, Barbora Krejcikova on Rod Laver Arena after Djokovic Etcheverry. And on Margaret Court, it's going to be Sebastian Korda against Andrei Rublev. Pretty much the first miss of the match from Etcheverry here with the backhand cross, but he's still 13-30, 15 up. And and that's it for today. I mean, the Australian Open has been a little slower. We've also had many doubles results coming up. I'm not sure if there were any amazing stories. Mostly, Hijikata Kubler, the defending champions, pulling through, I think. And definitely the Dodik Krajcek, so one of the top pairings in the world as well, losing to Tsatsic Molchanov. That must have been a huge upset. I didn't check the odds, but about 520 on Tsatsic Molchanov. So that was a pretty ridiculous one. Although, as I said many times, doubles does tend to be pretty random. Although at the Grand Slam stage, a little less since it's the regular scoring, and also third set instead of the deciding set tiebreak. We've also had many. There's one more match coming in doubles on the men's side, and that's John Millman, who of course is retiring this event, playing alongside the young Australian talent Edward Winter, but they are facing Bopana Ebden, so they would be very likely to win. And there are still 2 more mixed matches going on as well. But I haven't really been focusing on that, to be quite honest with you. Which really leaves us with the 4 singles that are going on right now. I said 5 earlier, but of course it's 4. Djokovic misses a regulation forehand cross, and that's actually a bit of a helping hand to Etcheverry because this game was suddenly getting tricky. It's not anymore, or at least it won't be if Etcheverry wins the next point. Shelton broke in the second set. I'm interested to see the stats of the opener. I wasn't watching it because, as I said, I just finished my nap. Actually, part of why I went to even get it was because I realized that Shelton isn't going to start for a while. and that was one of the matches that I was still interested in. Now it's Etcheverry with the backhand miss, so this game has definitely cooled off a little bit and just has a few sloppier errors from both players, and we are at the first deuce of the entire match. Yeah, looks like Shelton did have his chances, I guess. One break each in the opener. And then he loses the tie break from 2-love up, a mini break up. He goes down 2-5 and can't recover it. But yeah, Shelton up a break in the second. Who knows? Maybe he will still get there. Either opponent is pretty tricky for in general, like Shelton or Mannarino, I would say. But probably Djokovic would feel more comfortable against Mannarino, I suppose. I just don't know how Mannarino hurts him really. Whereas Shelton, you can imagine a world where Shelton just has a ridiculous serving day, is redlining his shots, and beats Djokovic. But of course, it's pretty unlikely. Like at the US Open, it was pretty clear that he is not ready for it yet. And has he done anything yet so far since that would suggest us that that he might be ready? Sorta, right? Tokyo, Shanghai, just having more consistent results. Maybe. At least it would be a matchup with some intrigue, I believe. Whereas Djokovic Mannarino, it wouldn't be awful either, but they've played 4 times, and I guess one time at least it was pretty close in Cincinnati. Well, pretty close in that Mannarino took a set, but the next two weren't that close. So I think with Mannarino, with players with such unique games, generally speaking, if you beat them once, you probably know how to beat them more. Like if you have a good matchup against them, you're probably gonna have it until the end of your career, is basically what I'm trying to say. However, of course, Adrian has also been improving. We'll see how Djokovic looks physically today. So far, so good, but it's just been 4 games. And Shelton would be pretty tricky, I think, in that, yeah, you just don't want to play him because he doesn't give you rhythm. But is he actually likely to win 3 sets against Djokovic at a major currently? Probably not. But yeah, maybe Etcheverry gets there. We'll see. Etcheverry, of course, that would be by far the biggest win of his career. When he made Roland Garros quarterfinals last year, it was a bit of a weaker run, but still he emerged as the best player in that section of the draw, and he was absolutely like playing his best stuff. I think on the way he beat Alex de Minaur, that was probably the biggest win, and like Nishioka in the forefront, if I remember correctly, but that was the match where it was just one tiebreak and then 2 bagel sets. He didn't really threaten Zverev in the quarters, I think, but of course, it was a fantastic run for the Argentinian, who last year also made his first 2 Premier ATP Tour finals. He lost to Nicolas Jarry in Santiago, in the Chilean's hometown, and also to Frances Tiafoe in Houston. So I think one of the main goals for this year will probably be to try to pick up that ATP Tour title, which he has a good chance of doing in the Golden Swing, which he will also have a good chance of doing, honestly, right now, even in the European clay swing. Depends on the scheduling, because of Madrid, Rome. Yeah, maybe these events get less recognition now, and he won't be playing them as much. But also in the post Wimbledon clay swing, which will be a little different this year due to the Olympics. But anyway, Djokovic 40-15 up after losing that first point of the game with a long rally where he just threw out his forehand. A few easier points for Novak. Some of that Etcheverry's fault, actually. Yeah, obviously, so far the pace of this match hasn't been that ridiculous. We can have a 3-2 score in a second after just 20 minutes. So that's probably good for Novak if the cold still is hampering him. If not, then I don't think it matters really, because even at this stage of his career, he has demonstrated that he can go on for long, he can manage his energy, he can sort of have a bit of a physical dip at some point, but then recover easily and still play his best stuff. So if Djokovic is absolutely fine when it comes to the health, then I don't think it will matter all that much. That's an interesting one as well. Here about Etcheverry's shot placement, about his depth. where he hits the back third of the court with his head racket, which he used last year 25% of the time, and now with a Yonex 30% of the time. But I have to say that's well, that's only one tournament, right? Like or like two tournaments so far. So I don't know if this is a meaningful stat, but it's an interesting one from the Australian Open crew to point out. And that's 3-2 Djokovic with a big serve. Let me change that on the banner pretty quickly as well. Yeah, as I said, it's pretty messy. Sorry for that. Maybe we'll get someone later who can turn on the scores in any shape or form. For now, it will just be on the screen like this, and you'll have to watch my face more than you would. This is time for me to grab some water, but I'll be back in 15 seconds. Have that covered now. And yeah, let's see if Etcheverry can keep playing this well and just keeping up with Djokovic, because so far it's pretty hard to call anyone the better player here. The early super aggressive start from Djokovic has definitely worn off a tad. I think Etcheverry has also started making errors, and right now we just have a fairly even clash of the baseline, but of course that does not have to last. Mannarino, apparently, I'm reading at least, is that he is a bit gassed. And I guess he did have 2 consecutive 5-setters against Stan and Jaume Munar, so... That's a great forehand down the line from Djokovic, just super precise. So it's 15-0. I think Etcheverry sends this +1 forehand long as well. So this is seemingly going to be a bit of a tricky game for the underdog here. But it's Djokovic who gives him a sloppy forehand now to get to 30-0. You guys might remember this photo when Etcheverry, when he just joined the ATP rankings with 1 point. He stands with this paper sheet in his hand, and there's Thomas Martin Etcheverry, 1 point, and Novak Djokovic, who was the leader of the ATP rankings at the time, like 12,000 points, which is a very good one anytime they play, obviously. And yeah, I think Etcheverry has also said that Djokovic is a bit of an idol of his, but I would assume that once they played twice last year, of course, Paris and Rome, Etcheverry would like probably be able to shed any, the too much respect that you sometimes can have for your idol, and like the will to impress him. I think that's probably off the table now, just because he's already done it. Which, I understand that psychological mechanism, but I think they played twice last year, so I would assume Etcheverry can be fine. But once again, we are going to use the Etcheverry bucket now, not looking as solid as it was at the very beginning of the match. Of course, that's a shot that's like, yeah, pretty pedestrian, I would say, in his game. It's not horrible. It's definitely not horrible, but it's the one that doesn't really do all that much damage. However, I think part of his improvement has been also getting it to be just more steady, get better depth, and that allows him to set up the forehand even more, since basically all about his game is just setting up for that forehand, whether it's first strike after the serve or whether it's just in the rally. It's a pretty horrific double fault though. So this is the first breakpoint of the match. Novak Djokovic with a chance to go on to hold, and go on to hold a 4-2 lead. Big serve Etcheverry though, out wide. Most of his good ones so far have been down the tee. Here Djokovic touches it, but he cannot get it back over the net. Speaking of serves down the tee, I think that one was probably a let. Would have been a 3-point for Etcheverry if it wasn't, but this one isn't bad either, and he secures the +1 forehand. Not doing too much with it though. Now he has the inside in. This is a really good shot as well. Slices to the Djokovic backhand. The trading. Etcheverry forehand on the run. He has to do a bit of running here, and Djokovic once again unleashes the backhand drop shot. This time Etcheverry won't catch it. And his start to the ball certainly didn't look too good here. Djokovic, of course, is just really good at hiding this one backhand drop shot that he has. So can't really blame him, but maybe this is an area that Novak will be able to expose, because even though when you watch it on the replay, it seemed like Etcheverry was getting there pretty fast, I think his start was a little mediocre here. Maybe just an accident though. Maybe he was just on the back foot, and then it's never really easy to get yourself going. That was a really good return from Novak, neutralizing the point instantly, and he wins it after an Etcheverry back and unforced error. So that's 4-2 Djokovic in the opening set. Since it's an important change in the result, I'm also going to put it on the banner instantly. I'm not going to wait until the changeover. Shelton leading Mannarino 5-1 now in the fourth, so that's probably another indicator that Mannarino might not be feeling too bright physically. But yeah, so far the good news for, I guess, mostly Djokovic, given his issues in the first two rounds, is that this match has been nowhere near a slog that we expected. And that's been the case for in general for like all the Etcheverry matches so far at the Australian Open. I have to say, the fact that he beat Murray and Monfils under 2.5 hours was pretty shocking. I think these were both matches where we were expecting like 3-4 hours of action, and it never came to fruition. Instead of the 3 or 4 hours of action, we actually just straight up got nothing in a way. So maybe this one won't be the same, but for now, the first set definitely is looking like it should go in Djokovic's favor. He's been more solid off the ground after the first few games, and Etcheverry just missing a couple of these regulation backhands that he kind of has to be just really steady on, because it's not a shot that he is trying to use aggressively. He's just using it to try to set up the forehand eventually. But if he misses so many of them, then of course this will not really work for him against Novak. Now we're seeing like a more of a classic Etcheverry rally, but again, Djokovic just with this insane counter back and down the line with on the slide. Of course, he does it really well, but this is still a moment where Etcheverry expects to be in control. This is a moment when Etcheverry expects to fire that inside-out forehand, which he did a couple of times here. I think first inside in and then inside out. It seemed like he really is enjoying himself here. No, actually, both of them were inside in, inside out. Sorry, and he just really seems to be in good position in the rally. But Djokovic again with a counter that seems to be even irritating Etcheverry a little bit, but that's probably a look at his team, just saying, I mean, what am I to do? The patterns that I'm usually working, the patterns that I usually love, I am kind of struggling in them because Djokovic is just countering it with such ease. Another backhand dropper from Novak. This one isn't going to work, but this is the love 40 love points. So of course, you're kind of welcome to bring in something else, keep the opponent guessing, even if it doesn't work. You probably will claim the game anyway. Lob from Etcheverry is going to be out, so it's 5-2 Djokovic now. And soon enough, he might be claiming the set as well. I guess I didn't put on the banner last time after changing it, so now I'm fixing that error. You have Djokovic leading Etcheverry 5-2 in the opening set. What else on the other courts? The Minor with a breakpoint now, which would lead him to serve for the opening set. Mannarino-Shelton already one set all. So Ben won the second set 6-1, I think with 3 breaks of serve. I guess I didn't touch on some of the women's results earlier. Anisimova beating Badosa. Really good form so far this Australian Open. I was scared for her after the lead up because when she beat Pavlyuchenkova and then lost to Buskova in like 58 minutes in the next round. So I didn't really expect her to play 3 good matches in a row, but so far she has done that. And so far she has no issues really. Sabalenka double bagels Lesia Tsurenko. Yeah, rough, but again, that's kind of Tsurenko's game, right? She beats everyone she is expected to. She has that insane return game, but once she lands in a top player, usually it's a demolition. Marta Kostyuk defeated Elina Vanessian in 3 sets, which is a big win for her as well. Second week of a slam just for the second time after the Roland Garros 2021. Coco Gauff, of course, Alicia Parks. Yeah, that was a horror show. I think on one of the last ball drops, probably with Jack, we mentioned that like this is a match which Parks can lose 1-6, 1-6, or actually win it as well. And she actually lost it love 6-6, but I guess the amount of games was the same as I said there. And also Mira Andreeva against Diane Parry, I guess, was the best show so far. with the insane comeback of the Russian in the third set. She was 1-5 down. She saved the match point and 2-5 down. Parry up until that point, sort of just really using that variety that she has, sometimes attacking the net, sometimes mixing up the slice and just not giving Andreeva any rhythm. But she lost that clarity, she lost that conviction that she was playing with up until a certain point, and she managed to throw away that set. I mean, Andreeva also came up with some superb shot making, but this was, some of that was due to, for the first time in that match, her having that rhythm that she wasn't really given before. And I have to say that then Andreeva actually loosened up a little bit. She was 6-5 up already, so she was serving for the match after winning 5 consecutive games. She didn't end up getting it. She won it in the tiebreak, though, 10-5. And I like the fighting effort, though. Like 1-5 down, she was really pumping herself up and like screaming after important points, and clearly like fit her personality, and she managed to get over the line. Etcheverry, a big forehand winner, maybe is going to wake him up a little bit in this game, but then Djokovic comes up with this pass, so it's 30-15. Nice serve, though, and he looks like he will secure the opportunity to just try to push Novak once more. He hasn't had a break point yet, I think, so there wasn't any opportunity really at the Djokovic serve. There was one love 15, I believe, but then it was resolved very quickly. But of course, at this stage, when he's 2-5 down, it's just all about getting that one more hold and just asking the question, seeing if Djokovic can produce another comfortable hold, or maybe we will have some fireworks still in this set. First, he needs to claim this point. He can't get it on the backhand counter down the line, which would have been a pass with Novak rushing into the net. Sorry. Etcheverry's serving has also cooled down a little bit after the first game. Obviously, he wasn't going to keep getting like 2 aces every single game, but I think the amount of 3 points is significantly lower now. But now he gets one where, yeah, this really should be his point. He hits a couple of big forehands. Djokovic eventually has to slice, gives him a high ball. And maybe it was the indecisiveness that led to this mistake. Like, this looks like a bit of that one where you think you want to go inside out, and then you suddenly think, no, I actually want to go inside in, and then you change your plans during the middle of the stroke, and that never ends well, obviously. So yeah, 30 all now on the Etcheverry serve. Deuce now on the Etcheverry serve, and things aren't looking great for him at the moment. If Djokovic wins the point, he will have a set point. From 40-15, that would of course be a pretty poor loss for Etcheverry, because yeah, that doesn't even make Djokovic serve it out if he loses this game. Etcheverry on the defense, and he just throws out this forehand squash shot. So it's 5-2 Djokovic, set point on the Etcheverry serve. 16 shots in this rally, one of the longer ones we've had. Definitely not a grind fest so far. But yeah, it's not a perfect situation when you're 2-5 down and you make the opponent serve it out, potentially feel some nerves. Of course, it's Novak Djokovic, but like, you can still feel some nerves. Well, that's a touch better from Etcheverry, though. A similar defensive shot, this time on the return from Djokovic, as to the one that made Etcheverry confused a little bit a couple of points ago. This time Etcheverry chooses inside out. He adds a lot of height on it, and Djokovic can't handle it. So back to deuce. I think the serve is out down the tee, so Etcheverry will need to rally here again, which the last couple of minutes hasn't been going too well for him. Djokovic fires this insane forehand return, and I think it's probably out. I don't know. My scoreboard still hasn't applied. I don't even know. I would say it was a touch out, but I don't even know. It could have been in as well. Like the power on it was pretty insane. I guess whoever is operating the scoreboard also has no idea. And now I don't know if I'm watching a game point or a set point. The scoreboard is off the screen as well, so I guess they're trying to fix it now. Djokovic misses the forehand though, inside in. So I think, oh, is it deuce or is it game? I still don't know. I think based on the shots that they're showing us without the scoreboard, I would assume that this is game actually. Yes, indeed, 5-3. So Djokovic must have missed that forehand return just barely, as I said. The kick on the Etcheverry serve, he was just trying to blast through it top to bottom, but didn't make it. But anyway, 5-3. There was one set point, of course, which was saved with like a lot of shape on the first forehand after the serve with from Etcheverry. So now let's see if Djokovic can serve out without any issues. And once again, as usual on the Rod Laver Arena, they are letting at least some people in during the break, despite there being no changeover, and Djokovic has to wait. But anyway, 5-3. Etcheverry just putting the return back in play, which in this game will be very crucial. But Djokovic will surely drive this point to a finish. Yes, indeed. Approaches at the Etcheverry forehand and does not get a sufficient enough response. Sufficient enough, that doesn't make sense. Good enough response, let's say. Or sufficient, simply, without the enough. Anyway. Now a good serve down the tee. Again, just spot serving very well, and Etcheverry can't get it over the net, so we were questioning if this hold, if Etcheverry gets to 3-5, if this hold was also going to be routine for Djokovic, but so far it kind of looks like it should be. Ooh, and that's a very makeable second serve return from Etcheverry as well. So I guess with this, he is surrendering the set, more or less. This is basically where he just says, okay, Novak, have this set. And you deserve it because you were definitely the better player in it. That's probably what he says as well. But yeah, in a situation like this, of course, you cannot miss that return. Will Djokovic claim it on the first set point? I guess he does. Yes, indeed. Another very nice aggressive point on the forehand side. So let me change that banner. I also see there was a comment, so I'm going to see to it in a second. 6-3, Djokovic over Etcheverry. Very clean first set from Nolan. No sign of the issues so far that bothered him in the match against Popyrin or Prismic. But yeah, let's see if Etcheverry just can keep extending the match at least a bit further. Elliot, hi, hey, I'm new here. Can you tell me about this channel? This kind of looks like a bot message, but it's probably not. So anyway, we talk tennis here. We have a lot of these weekly or like recap shows. We have a lot of streams which we are doing here. So like watch along, where basically we watch a tennis match and we talk about it. We sort of commentate on it, although it's not like the usual TV commentary, if you may. And yeah, a lot of like analysis shows as well. Sometimes when John, the CEO, if you may, the founder, the father of the family, is at a tournament, he's also going to bring you some content from there. There's been interviews as well. So if you like the premise of that, subscribe. I think perhaps on the channel there's like a bit of an introductory video somewhere as well. I seem to remember it being there. So if you have any more questions, that's probably where I should direct you, I suppose. I haven't seen that video, but assuming that that it probably is okay in explaining more. Thoughts on Alize Cornet announcing her retirement on Instagram. Ben Shelton, by the way. Hello, Ben Shelton. And you are actually playing right now. So I'm surprised they made you lose your phone. They allowed you to use your phone. Alize Cornet announcing her retirement on Instagram. Is it a retirement? I actually don't know if I've seen it. Is it a retirement this year or is it a retirement after the Australian Open? Because I guess that makes a big difference. Let me maybe put on Twitter and find out. But yeah, Aliza, I think even a couple of years ago, she was already talking about it, announcing her retirement. And she basically ended up prolonging her career because I think the results suddenly improved. So it's not surprising that she has this idea, definitely not. Obviously, on the women's side, it tends to be that the players end their careers a little earlier than. I guess it's not too surprising given she already had plans like this earlier. But if this Australian Open was to be my last one, I can't help but look back on everything that Australia has meant for me throughout my career. But yeah, this being the last season, not the last tournament, I think that's more or less expected. She is outside the top 100 now. She basically won't be making slams anymore soon. For this one, of course, she got a wild card. I think for the French, she probably also will get one for all the contributions over the years, if you may. But yeah, I think this might be the right time if she cannot compete anymore at that sort of intensity that she wanted. Of course, if she is still welcome to play like lower tier events if she wants to. There are some players who pull it off. But yeah, Aliza even a couple of years ago was already thinking of it. So I guess it's not that surprising actually that she might choose to do it. Demid already took a set as well in the meantime, and Timofeyeva Haddad Maya at 5-6 in the first, so that one has been pretty competitive. Etcheverry starts the second set with a hold, giving us some hope. 4 minutes ago, after Australian Open. Oh, so I guess I haven't seen that even on Twitter yet, because what I was trying to. Let me type it in once again into the Twitter search engine and maybe see it, because I don't have an Instagram account and I don't know if it will allow me to. Yeah, but all I'm seeing is like that she hinted that this will be her last season or something like that. I don't know. 4 minutes ago, so maybe people haven't like posted it yet. I don't know. I'll try to see the Cornet Instagram, I guess, but I don't know if it will allow me since I don't have an account. Yeah, 14 minutes ago. But she says that if this Australian Open was to be my last one, so it's an if, it's a conditional. However, like she doesn't say that she retires here, right? Yeah, she just basically says goodbye to Australia, which means that she will be still playing likely this season. Whatever, the French probably, the French Open, maybe some other events. We'll see. But it doesn't seem like this is a retirement announcement. If this Australian Open was to be my last one. So she's not saying that she is retiring right now. She just says that it's very likely that that this is her last appearance in Australia, and also that she has a lot of good memories from that, which she points out here. The beginning of this incredible streak of Grand Slam participation, first fourth round, first quarterfinal in a Grand Slam, WTA title in Hobart, the wins in Hopman Cup and Fed Cup. So yeah, I don't think she ever says that this is her last event or that this is surely her last season. Although, a good pie post pretty much sort of tells us that she thinks it's likely her last season. I think she lost to Timofeyeva, right, in the opening round. So I guess at least over time, this loss is looking much better than it did in the past. In hindsight, it looks very okay. Of course, Timofeyeva still being in the event, still being up there, and now battling against Beatriz Haddad Maya. Looks like a couple of easy holds for both players for now, but actually no, because Djokovic misses this. Well, it's still gonna be an easy hold probably. He was 40 love up, but yeah, that's a bit of a wild miss. Doesn't seem like it will matter though. Forehand heaviness, Djokovic 723, top 100 average 693. I would like to see where Etcheverry is in that scenario, because I would assume that he is probably higher than Djokovic, but that's not something that the Australian Open statisticians or TV crew or whoever allowed me to check now. So I have to just rely on what they give me with that sort of a stat, which we cannot really check in any other resource. Etcheverry starting, of course, the second set on serve. He will always be, well, not always, but he will be the one in front if he can keep holding. So that's a pretty decent position for him. But yeah, that's a big if as well. Djokovic in control of the next point, but Etcheverry is now defending pretty well. Seems like he has gotten it more or less back to neutral. Yes, indeed. See who now tries to take over. The backhand of Etcheverry now a little more steady, which he really needs. He's going to slice. Djokovic responds with one himself. Etcheverry as well. Djokovic with a slice to the Etcheverry forehand. Plays his backhand down the line and eventually, forehand down the line and eventually manages to claim it. Very long rally here, 28 shots. And it's eventually Djokovic who outmaneuvers the Argentinian and just gets him out of position. He was definitely the one taking more risks, though, in this rally. That kind of has to be said. Anytime you would see a player come up with something or like maybe switch up switch up directions or just accelerate a little bit more, that was Djokovic. So probably the deserved winner of this rally as well. If there is even a thing like this, like a deserved winner of a rally, but maybe sometimes there might be. Now Etcheverry has Djokovic on the back foot, but will he be able to capitalize on it? Probably not, yeah. Novak just back in the rally and Etcheverry hits his forehand. This isn't looking too bright for Etcheverry in a few ways, but one of them is that, yeah, when he gets a point like this, just really on the front foot so early, he's kind of not able to take advantage of it, He just has Djokovic covering corner to corner and then eventually he plays a softer, less precise forehand, less aggressive forehand, and then the point is back to neutral. Ooh. Net court from Djokovic. Etcheverry has to go to the net. Pretty good touch, actually. Wow. I didn't know Tome has such a good volley, but I guess it was slightly accidental, probably. Like, not accidental, but you know how sometimes you just find a ridiculous volley without being that comfortable at the net even. And that was really, really good. Again, he has an attacking position with the forehand. Will he do enough with it? Well, he was trying to. I have to give him credit. But that second sort of that attempt again to get to the net. Of course, the last time it was forced. This time he actually wants to go there, but he just decides to do it, and just not an unfortunate moment because he hit that big forehand. And I think if he went after it instantly, he would have had a similar volley as last time, just good timing on it, over the net. Here, he just has to fire a pretty, absurdly technical forehand volley from the bottom, from below the net. And it's just not really one of his main strengths. So, yeah, that bit of hesitation, the fact that he wasn't so decisive and didn't have the conviction to go after his forehand right away. Cost him. And now a pretty predictable second serve, which Novak just runs around and blasts the forehand return winner. So a break up, Djokovic again in the second set. And so far, this is not looking great for Edge. I did answer Elliot on the stream, if that's what you are referring to. Let me try to change that banner again. The touchpad in my laptop has been a little off recently, and I have to use the touchpad because I have 3 devices plugged in. I have another USB port, although I might buy this thing that allows you to have more, basically, which I think I will, because then I will be able to use my mouse, which right now I can't. But yeah, in the comments also, Marcus has a lot of support to the players right now. Haddad Maia, Etcheverry, Mannarino, Koboli, Korda, Rublev, Krejcikova. I guess underdogs for the most part on the men's side, whereas on the women's, he would like the favorites to pull through. Haddad Maia and Krejcikova. Korda, Rublev, he doesn't care. I kind of don't either. But yeah, most of these favorites most of these underdogs, obviously on the men's side so far, they've been losing. We'll see if that continues. 6-3, 2-1 Djokovic, and that's with a break as well. So it's starting to build up. It's beginning like a bit of an advantage for Novak for sure. And the one thing that we can say so far is that he is looking healthier than he was last time. Just playing with a lot more clarity, I guess, and just not having like this usual all over the place mindset that sometimes being ill gives you. So that's good news for him and the rest of his event, really. A bit of a poor backhand miss, but again, so far he hasn't been in trouble on serve. We'll see if that happens. Yeah, can Etcheverry threaten Djokovic on return for the very first time? Not really, because he misses this backhand slice. And yeah, we've said it many times, but like there's no real way he can win the match if he produces errors like this. Like he just needs to be super clean. And of course that's that's pressure on you. If you any time you need to be this clean to beat an opponent, it's not easy to hold onto that thought and just never really give up any point. Now he has Djokovic on the back foot with the forehand down the line. Djokovic can't get it over the net, but it's still 40-30. Timofeyeva now set point up on Haddad Maia in the first set tiebreak. We'll see if she takes it. Also, we have Mannarino back on serve with Shelton in the third set. He lost like a lot of games in a row, but now he's back on serve. The Minor up a set, as I mentioned earlier. Looks like the third game of the second set is like a pretty long one. I seem to remember it going on a while ago as well. And that will be an ace for Djokovic. 6-3, 3-1 after just 1 hour and 1 minute. So far, this has been as good as it gets, really, for Novak. This is exactly the match that he wants after Prizmic Popyrin, round 1, round 2. A bit more rest, easier passage to this third round. It didn't have to be like this, but for now, it's looking like it. The mixed has already finished for the day as well, the women's doubles as well. And as I said, there's just one more men's doubles, which I think maybe will be after. Can't remember which match it will be after. Maybe Koboli, the minor. Oh, never mind. Anyway, of course, it will be, as I said earlier, John Millman and Edward Winter playing against Rohan Bopana and Matthew Ebden. John Millman in his last event, in the last event of his career, didn't get an Australian Open main draw wildcard. He did play the qualifying though, where he ended up losing in the second round to Alex Molchan after defeating Alessandro Giannessi in the opening round. Etcheverry with the big serve, but again, he cannot quite convert the advantage, and eventually he wins the point. Djokovic goes a bit wide on the cross forehand, but this has been the main issue for the Argentinian. I think that even when the serve is setting him up with a nice +1 forehand, even when that forehand is also really good, there's just no real way for him to convert it because he's not willing to transition to the net. He's not willing to go for broke on that forehand, which is like very heavy, but also he can flatten it out. He just hasn't been doing it really in this match, I think. I haven't seen like a classic Etcheverry forehand winner so far where he kind of just slabs the ball and goes in. That's better though. So 40 love up. And it looks like that one break advantage will remain just that for now. But of course, it is also a set and a break advantage. So ace from Etcheverry, 6-3, 3-2, Djokovic. Let me put that on the banner as well. If my touchpad allows me to, hopefully it will have its better moments. Djokovic 6-3, 3-2, Etcheverry with a break as well. Average return hit points, Etcheverry actually returning Djokovic's second serve further back than he does return his first. Djokovic, of course, the other way around. Second serve, he's basically returning off the baseline, whereas the first serve, he's returning more or less where Etcheverry is returning his first serve. That kind of bodes to, again, Etcheverry trying to hit every single return possible with his forehand. So he needs to be a bit further back, try to generate that heavy stroke, try to run around whatever is possible. It's a bit of a returning strategy like, I don't know, Tsitsipas, right? Where particularly on clay, he just stands 3 meters behind the baseline, even on the second serve return, and just tries to run around, and every time hit with his forehand, which is probably the right strategy, although it does give the opponent a lot of time. And if you're losing as many points sort of in neutral rallies as Etcheverry is so far in this match, maybe that's not perfect because you want to be aggressive on the first touch. But yeah, I mean, so far he hasn't been able to threaten Djokovic either, so that kind of might tell him that maybe there needs to be some sort of an impulse soon, that maybe there needs to be some, I don't want to say drastic, but at least some light update to his plan, update to his idea for this match, because the one that he's been using so far is a little off. Or at least it's just off because Djokovic is playing well, It's not that Etcheverry has been executing it that poorly. Maybe a few too many backhand unforced errors, but that's okay as well. It's not like he's hitting a ton of them. But yeah, the longer rallies especially, 0-4 shots, Djokovic and Etcheverry are currently almost tied, 23-22. 5-8 is Djokovic 14-10. Not a big deal, but 9+ rallies, 11-4 Djokovic. So he's really dominating the longer points. And also, every single 9+ shot rally that Etcheverry won was with an unforced error from Djokovic. Which I guess isn't that bad because he was able to extract these errors or throw them out of Djokovic with the length of the rally. But still, he only won 4 out of 11. And in a matchup like this, where usually in tennis, longer rallies don't matter a big deal, but in a matchup like this, clearly they kind of do, because that's been the difference maker between them so far. That when the point is longer, when the point goes neutral, usually Djokovic is going to emerge as the victor. In fact, I think it's like 25-14 for him if the rallies go over 4 shots, whereas if it's under 4 shots, it's basically dead even. So it's actually been the longer rallies that have been deciding this match. And also Djokovic's quality on serve. And we should have another one of these longer exchanges here. Etcheverry playing his forehand cross, and Djokovic sends it out. I guess the spin, the heaviness, this time it actually did help Etcheverry get that error out of Djokovic, lure it out. So it's 15-30 now, and if Etcheverry is to have a chance in this match, if he is to fight for it, then this is the moment. This is the moment where he can actually try to get back at Djokovic, try to get this set back to level terms, and keep himself alive. Because let's be honest, if Djokovic is 2 sets to love up, even with like a minor physical crisis coming up at some point, which I don't know if it would because the match has been pretty short, but even with that coming up, it would be very hard to see Etcheverry claiming this one. I think it's a second serve as well for him now. Etcheverry gets it back with that return strategy of course, getting behind the court, trying to hit a forehand. He does, but Novak just wins the point anyway. He's actually quite angry. I'm not sure about what, because the point was perfectly fine. Gets a big forehand in more or less down the line, and Etcheverry tries to run into it, but doesn't make the shot over the net. So now we are at 30 all. And one more point for Novak, and that opportunity for Etcheverry might be gone. But let's see if that point gets there. Novak really frustrated right now. Like, he misses the first serve and he's already reacting to it in a very visible way. Yeah, that's just not gonna cut it. Etcheverry thrown out of the court by the Djokovic second serve, and he just plays a very slow return down the middle. Djokovic picks it up with his backhand half volley, and it's not gonna be good enough. I mean, you're not gonna be able to recover. The only hope was for Djokovic to miss that smash. Goran laughing about something, I don't even know what, maybe about the Djokovic frustration in this game, but as it doesn't seem all that important, or maybe it's something different. Maybe maybe someone farted around him. Or maybe someone told him one of those Finnish jokes that me and John yesterday were arguing about on the screen, on the stream, sorry. Anyway, 40-30, and Etcheverry, no, I mean, he misses that backhand return. This is, again, like him surrendering the second set, more or less. He can't say that he didn't have the opportunity this time, because oh no, not this banner, because he clearly did have the opportunity this time. However, this is just not going to cut it if he is missing just normal returns like this, not trying to go for much, just roll it back in and play a neutral rally with Djokovic, which he both has been losing so far. Oh, and it looks like I don't have to do the banners anymore. Hello to our producer. And yeah, now I'll be able to avoid these issues. Isn't strange? I find Rublev boring to watch. No drop shots coming to the net at etc. etc. Just bashing the ball. No, I actually think it's not strange. I find Rublev boring to watch as well. He just powers through all the forehands. And at first, when he was coming up, it was exciting because he was really like, I don't know, he was at least a little ballsier, I think, with them. He was hitting these insane ones on the run, or like when he was playing in 2020, he would have this versatility on the forehand as well. And over time, he just sort of turned himself into this machine where, yeah, he just powers through every shot, but it's not really like there's no variety even in that power. He's not necessarily going to accelerate now, but he's just basically hitting with this very high base power level, very high foundation as well. And yeah, I don't find it exciting at all. I think so far this year, of course, Rublev has been unbeaten. He has won 6 matches, but he never got out of second gear. And that is impressive because he never needed to. You know, his second gear, his floor is way better than most players, even at their almost peak. But it's not exciting to watch. I don't find it exciting to watch. I don't find I generally don't find players exciting to watch when they have arrived at a certain level and they show absolutely no prospect to get a step further, like to beat a top player in a big match. Which is why I cannot get excited about Rublev playing Sinner, Djokovic, Alcaraz, because it just seems like the result is already set in stone. And the same goes for a few others for sure. I always just tend to root for the underachievers and the players who I think could still go further. Okay, that's a pretty sick shot from Djokovic again. Usually in this match he would like burn Etcheverry with the backhand down the line when Etch would go for the inside out forehand and not do too much with it. Now he goes backhand cross and Djokovic is there with an insane counter. We can see it on the close call as well that it's barely landed in. But yeah, just a perfect shot. But he takes the game, Etcheverry. So it's 6-3, 4-3. Still just one break in the second set. But of course, that's not good enough for now. He needed top gear to beat Sabov-Wild? No, absolutely not. Like he, in the third and fourth set, he was getting outplayed because he didn't ever like get into that high gear, you know? Third and fourth set, when Sabov-Wild was hitting his forehand as incredibly as he was, Rublev was kind of toast in them. And that's the main thing, I guess, that he can either lose to a top player or someone who is redlining on the day, because he doesn't really have that way of throwing them off, of mixing up the rhythm, of changing something up. And when someone like Sabov gets used to his ball, it's not going to be that easy. And all in all, of course, he is a very worthy top 8 player and a very worthy ATP Finals contestant year after year. I think 4 consecutive years now. It's just that it's a little frustrating that there's not much he can do against the top guys, or when someone is hitting incredibly well on the day, which is a case of, for example, at the Grand Slam quarterfinal range, right? At these stages, it was always either a better opponent or someone like Tiafoe or Cilic who were peaking at that particular event or in that particular match, and that's more or less his quarterfinal record, of course. John speaking Polish in the chat. I swear that wasn't me. I guess you can see it wasn't me because the ni in dzień is like a little different in terms of the font, I suppose. Mine would be, I would have it just on my keyboard. So I guess John maybe copied that from somewhere, or maybe not. Maybe it's the same font and I'm just talking BS, but Anyway, Djokovic 4-3 up, second set. That one opportunity that Etcheverry had in the previous Djokovic service game, 15-30, it wasn't capitalized on, partially because Djokovic played very clean, of course, from that point onwards, but also a couple of errors that Etcheverry couldn't really afford at that point in time. But yeah, the good news for Djokovic definitely that it's not a slugfest. It hasn't been sluggish so far. It has been just a pretty quick-paced match, actually. And that's exactly what Djokovic wants to see after Popyrin and Prizmic. Now an ace as well. Another backhand regulation error from Etcheverry. I'm not saying this has been happening a ton, but just to beat Djokovic, he needs to be ultra clean. He needs to be staying in these rallies all the time, and he's just not. But of course, this is also the best version of Djokovic we've seen so far at the Australian Open, so it's not like he has an easy task to do today. Forehand half volley from Djokovic, now a lob, which is going to be out. But again, we see what we were talking about a couple of days ago, I think with John on the stream, that basically at 40 love, you throw in the variety. You throw in something to just make the opponent, keep the opponent guessing, make the opponent just slightly, just put him in a position where he's going to be awaiting what you do next instead of knowing what you do next. And that's what Djokovic certainly has been doing so far anytime he is 40 love up in a game. It sometimes leads to you losing the point, and of course sometimes can also lead to you losing the game. So there are arguments not to do it either, but it is a strategy by any means. No, it's just, whether it's a good one, I guess it's just a matter of opinion. 6-3, 5-3, Djokovic. Etcheverry about to serve to stay in the set and in the match. Honestly, I almost said in the match, but maybe it was a bit of a Freudian slip this time, because it really feels like if he goes down 2 sets to love down, with Djokovic showing no signs of physical fatigue either, and only 1 hour 18 minutes on the clock, yeah, it does feel like the match might soon be over if he goes down 2 sets to love here. Obviously, in the first set, he was 2-5 down when he was serving to try to stay in it. He had to save a set point, actually, Etcheverry, but then couldn't really do much on the Djokovic serve at 5-3. Now it's a different situation. Now it's also 5-3, but this time it's Etcheverry serving, but he loses the first point. Again, just throwing out a forehand that's not even particularly aggressive, so he's not really stepping up to the challenge either, despite a Djokovic who's clearly much better than against Popyrin and Prizmic, at least much cleaner and like sharper on the attack and showing no signs of the illness that had bothered him earlier. That's really good again, just making Etcheverry move to that backhand corner, and Tomek can't catch it. So love 30, and this is now emerging as like a real opportunity for Djokovic to get there. To get there even in this game, to grab a 2 sets to love lead. Big forehands from Djokovic. Etcheverry barely gets it over the net, but that's a pretty smart shot from Novak as well. Most players probably would go for the slice approach there. That would have given Etcheverry some glimpse at like this point, maybe like some chance of winning it. But the sort of semi-drop shot from Novak works extremely well here. Again, Etcheverry looking a little out of sorts when he has to chase down something. Mostly the lateral movement, of course, he's pretty good at, I guess, chasing down the drop shot, not necessarily. Anyway, 5-3, love 40, 3 set points now for Djokovic, and kind of feel like 3 match points. He's been good enough that we can say it. Backhand cross, Etcheverry still can't really hold on to an aggressive position after the serve. And that's probably been his main issue so far, really, in this match. Not the errors he throws in from time to time, but just the fact that when he gets a good serve in, it doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to take the point all the way to the end. This time it's Djokovic who makes the first error, though, in an extended rally, which recently hasn't been happening all that much. But yeah, 2 more set points, and even if he can't claim this game, he still has 1 more on his own serve. Now that's a good serve from Etcheverry. If the return isn't back in play, that's when the serve shines. It's just that he cannot really fully execute his patterns after it. But maybe he can get 1 more 3-point here, or maybe just a forehand put away that he will be able to convert. Who knows? 30-40, set point number 3. Serve is okay, but it's like really middle placed, There's nothing really on it that would trouble Djokovic. And that's the set as well, as Etcheverry sends out a forehand cross-court very wide. 2 sets up, Djokovic. This isn't a grind fest. This isn't a slog fest that we were expecting. And that's really good for Novak, who is looking the best that he has been at the Australian Open so far. John's still talking in Polish. I guess everyone is talking in Polish now, except for Marcus. Krejcikova will soon play Hunter, who is partnering with Krejcikova's former partner Siniakova. Enemies, yeah. Hunter, number 1 in the world right now. Maybe there's going to be something there. Some of the Polish translations have been a bit rough. But actually, what Keen said about the second serves, if there weren't any second serves, would the top 10 be the same? I'm going to reply to that in a second. I'm just going to read the next one. Let me copy it. Yeah, the one about reality and time, it's just a little natural. It's just a little non-natural, I guess, unnatural. But it's fine. But in the last one, there's it's a bit weird because it says the best hybrid server on tour, which I don't really know what that would mean, but on tour is, I guess, track. Like tour has been translated to track. That's the only error. But anyway, when it comes to the question about the players who would do well if there weren't second serves, I mean, definitely it wouldn't be the same top 10, right? That seems very unlikely. I don't know who would fall out of it. Rublev has a pretty weak second serve, but his baseline game is good enough, I think, to stick around. Djokovic, his first serve is a really big part of his game right now, but he would probably stick around as well. You would expect Medvedev as well. You would expect, well, actually, Zverev. Well, Zverev would just keep blasting his first serve, right? Despite the change, I think. So with the percentages that he gets, he probably would be okay with it. So I would assume Zverev would be also pretty likely. Alcaraz, of course, Sinner, yeah. I mean, lots of these guys just have such good quality baseline games. I guess we don't really have like a player who is so serve reliant. Then again, yeah, maybe the serve reliant players would also make some adjustments. Maybe like a Tsitsipas wouldn't be in the top 10 or something. In fact, Tsitsipas can be outside the top 10 pretty quickly, but well, maybe he will hold on to it given that he's already in the 4th round. I don't know. It's so hard to expect what the meta would be. It would be like such a change, like a transformation of the sport. I think I've said it before that even the fast four format would already like change up the meta so much that some players would definitely be more successful in it and some would be less successful in it. Whereas this one, it would really change the whole outlook of the sport. But I guess the best baseline games should hold up anyway. That's the assumption, at least. Ostapenko would love it. Maybe Ostapenko would be the best player in the world if it happened on the WTA, right? She would just keep returning the opponent's second serves. Or at least like a middle ground between the second serve and the first serve, which is probably what most players would be going for, like perhaps slightly more aggressive, especially if they were getting punished. Mannarino serving for the fourth set, so he has managed to recover from that 1-3 deficit in the third. So it might still be Adrian Mannarino playing Novak Djokovic or Tomas Martin Etcheverry in the fourth round. We also have Alex de Minaur up a set and a break on Flavio Cobolli. Maria Timofeyeva is now fully dominating Beatriz Haddad-Maia, 7-6, 3-love. Haddad-Maia is a bit of a comeback master, right? She's a fantastic grinder, so I guess it's not over yet. But anyway, Timofeyeva is in a very good position. Would that really open up the draw for Coco? I think that draw is already open, right? Coco will play Magdalena Frank in the fourth round, and then Kostyuk or Timofeyeva or Haddad-Maia in the quarters. I guess the quarters you can lose to one of these players. Like it's not impossible. But yeah, Coco's draw to the semis has certainly gotten really, really nice recently. After Fernandez went out and after Garcia went out, all the main threats have disappeared more or less. Not a good start to the next game as well for Etcheverry. This is of course crucial times for him. Any break here and we will be probably taking this match to a finish in pretty quickly. Let's just say that. And I was supposed to check. Oh yeah. Mannarino and Shelton actually has 3 breakpoints now on Mannarino in that game. So looks like this match is still very much in question. Oh, nice forehand dropper from Etcheverry, and I think especially good besides the moment to play it when Djokovic was like still recovering from the previous shot, where for a while he was he had to be with his back to the net. The disguise was also pretty sublime. I wish we got to see a bit more of that from Etcheverry today, but then again, if he's not controlling the points. Oh, and I was asking for this like flatter forehand winner from Etcheverry where he just slabs the ball down the line. Here we get it for the first time. Djokovic puts the return into play with a lot of interest, but he is outside the doubles alley even, and Etcheverry quickly steps in to take the next forehand down the line, +1 winner. Ace here as well. Pretty slow serve, I think, but it was exactly on the line and with a good angle. So it's 40-15, and the last 3 points have definitely been quite amazing for Etcheverry. Might be his best game of the match if he caps it all off here with another flashy point of sorts. But yeah, that forehand drop shot, forehand winner down the line on the +1 shot, and the ace. But let's see if he can keep going like that and find another good rally for himself. He just misses that forehand cross, getting pushed to that corner by Djokovic, and eventually he can't really get it in with, especially with the grip that he has, which is of course more of like a clay court type of shot. And it didn't really react to Djokovic's pace here. One more game point though for Tomas Martin Etcheverry. Ay. Really deep from Djokovic there on the counter. And Etcheverry just mishits the backhand entirely. I'm not even sure what Djokovic is apologizing for. The shot wasn't like close to the baseline. Maybe from Djokovic's angle, the ball slipped on the court or something. Although on hard courts, that's obviously somewhat unlikely. It can happen from time to time, but that's slightly out now from Djokovic, and one more game point for Etcheverry then. Was trying to find a really nice angle on the backhand counter, but went a bit too sharp, went a bit too wide, and Etcheverry with one more game point, really crucial for him, of course, as I said earlier, to take this one. And that's an ace down the tee, which is going to help. Was there an Opta stat that you showed and I just didn't see it? I guess maybe. Yeah, I get what you mean. I guess then with the hybrid serving, Arina Sabalenka is the first player to reach the women's singles forefront in the Eastern Open with 6 or less games dropped. No, that's actually a decent stat though, right? But yeah, the path at the end, this is hilarious. I think it's actually AI, right? It has to be AI. They just have some sort of a group of words that they're using as that one last thing in the tweet, because this really looks like AI or someone who wrote a weird algorithm to do it. He can play a first serve, yeah. I get it, but I guess it's a lot of opponent players, right? Who can just throw in a 150 first serve with a kick, which is actually pretty dangerous. Then you can slap. It would make the decision-making process, though, very, very weird. Yeah, I think I said that it might help Zverev. He has such high percentages on the first serve. Hey, Miles. That's actually not me even talking in Polish, if you're thinking about it. Did Tsurenko retire? Maybe she should have. Yeah, just a classic Tsurenko match against the top opponent, I think. Of course, sometimes she wins games. It doesn't have to be a double bagel every single time. Now, Etcheverry survives a backhand cross-court rally with Djokovic, actually, although one of his shots was also like kind of lacking control. Frank for 2024 Australian Open, yes, for sure. And apparently, Etcheverry is rolling over and having his belly tickled here, according to John, which is interesting. But, well, I suppose I know what you mean, although, has it been like it? It's just that Djokovic is so much sharper than the first 2 rounds, and it's not really allowing Etcheverry to turn this into a match that he wants here. But some great movement from him, though, recovering from that forehand on the run. He is back to neutral. In fact, he even gets a forehand inside out now. Yeah, Djokovic isn't just going to allow him anything, though. There's no points where Etcheverry is just dictating with that forehand, just standing on the left side of the court and either sending it inside in, inside out consecutively. Like, there's really no point like this. I remember one where he hit like 3 or 4 good forehands in a row, and then he messed it up at the net. I also think that here, like anytime he has a situation like this, Djokovic is either comes up with something like this, like a very deep backhand counter to really just, again, push Etcheverry too wide to the backhand corner, or he comes up with this huge shot down the line, which already has burned Etcheverry a few times. It's a rough one. It's a rough one when Djokovic is playing so well. I think it's a time violation for Novak, which again he seems very frustrated by. I never understand the players, like why are they doing this? Because, well, you have the clock there. Just look at it. It's not the umpire's fault, but I think that's part of that is actually how over the years tennis has had very inconsistent umpiring in general, and like a lot of things were allowed to the players despite in the rules it's saying, of course, something different. But yeah, and then the players still expect that preferential treatment for some reason. Yesterday there was also this funny situation. No, actually, it wasn't yesterday. It was when Kachanov played Kovacevic. So 2 days ago, there was this funny situation when Karen was also like fully in the wrong. Basically, he's I think it was on break point. So he serves, and Kovacevic's return is gonna fall out. But then the ball kid makes like this stupid error. Ball kid just comes up and catches the ball in the air before it even bounced. And even though it was going to be out, it has to be a replay. And Kachanov, for some reason, is just arguing with the umpire that she has to show it to him in the rules after the match, which is just so weird to me, because as a pro player, like, you should know that if, for example, an opponent's serve or whatever, or a shot of the baseline is flying over the, outside the court, you cannot just catch it, or you cannot just, I don't know, touch it with your hand or something like that. You're going to lose the point. It has to bounce first. And Kachanov was still trying to argue. And of course, it was a pretty good sportsmanship from Kovacevic to give him the point, especially considering it was the break point, which I think, of course, Kova was very right to do. It's probably the best option in that situation, and it's how these situations get regulated in general, because the umpire cannot make that call. And it was just so weird to me that Kachanov doesn't know the rules to that extent. But, well. (2-1) Djokovic. Now, of course, he's serving first because he broke in the last game of the second set, and he will be putting a lot of pressure on Etcheverry anytime he can keep holding. Path. Yeah, that's one that I haven't seen yet. Usually it's like wild, crazy, absurd. It has to be AI. I refuse to believe that someone actually types these. Mannarino-Shelton, third set, going to a tiebreaker, it seems. De Minaur also fully in control over Koboli right now, about to claim a 2-set-2-love lead. In fact, he's already claimed a 2-set-2-love lead, whereas Mannarino is 2 points away from losing the set, but also 2 points away from securing the tiebreak. And Timofeyeva 4-1 up on Haddad Maia in the second set, so really a perfect chance for the Russian qualifier, who of course won a WTA Tour title last year, to also have an amazing run here and reach the second week of a slam for the very first time. Another backhand error of the ground from Etcheverry. Djokovic will force him to smash, but yeah, the smash is put away. He says sorry. I guess he didn't hit it too cleanly, but it's the end result that matters. Again, he gets some advantage based on the serve, and he can't quite convert it. Like, there's not enough boldness, there's not enough pace, there's not enough fire on that forehand. It's a fantastic stroke, it's super heavy. It's absolutely one of the best clay rallying tools. It's just not really a tool used for cleaning up points early. And yeah, it's a bit of a limitation, of course. Especially in a match like this, it has been hurting him. In fact, I think Etcheverry probably has only hit like 5 forehand winners in this entire match, I would assume, which is way too low than it has to be if he is to beat Djokovic. Here he hit like a sort of winner. I mean, it was a forced error, which is perfectly fine. If Djokovic wasn't this flexible, it actually very easily could have been a winner, but So Etcheverry with a game point to try to keep going, try to keep things level in the second set. Let me see if the Australian Open website can tell me how many forehand ground stroke winners Etcheverry has. The Australian Open website, at least in terms of the stroke summary, has been very off this tournament. So yeah, I don't really think we have these stats. They're only showing 22 ground strokes in the entire match for Edge. So clearly it's not working. I was thinking that maybe because I saw it earlier that also wasn't working for another match that I wanted to check out, and I saw that maybe I thought it was going to be like on Rod Laver Arena only it was going to work, or on Margaret Court on the biggest courts, but actually no. It's just flopping every single match, so we cannot get any stats out of it this time, which is a shame. I love that section. But yeah, as a whole, Etcheverry has hit 10 aces, but just 18 winners. So I guess that kind of tells you already that, his stats in terms of forehand winners off the ground can maximum be 8. And it's not going to be 8 because he hit this drop volley as well. He hit a smash. So yeah, it's only going to be like 3 or 4 probably. Which does represent his issues in this match a little bit to me. Although here, I guess I actually can see it not in the stroke summary section, but in the rally stats under the general stats. And yeah, just 2 ground stroke winners of the forehand. So 2 drop shots as well, which kind of count. So but still, two ground strokes, 2 drop shots. I guess that's really the most I can give him here. Generally speaking, it's just been very hard for him to convert anything. Mostly has to rely on surviving with Djokovic in the rally, and today it's hard to survive with Djokovic in the rally because Novak has just been much sharper, much fresher, much more energetic, and he might as well end this match at around the 2-hour mark, which will help him dearly in the next stage of the event, where he will face whom? Mannarino-Shelton? Let's see. How are they doing in the third set tiebreak? Let me check that out. As Novak is serving at 40 love after a great forehand winner down the line. This time we don't see like a more varied approach from him, although eventually he ends the point at the net and he will win a very flashy rally. The forehand half volley was really good. Etcheverry was about to catch it, but then it clipped the net and Novak just has an easy put away, which he does also with a nice touch on the half volley. Shelton Mannarino into that tiebreak, and Shelton is leading 5-1. So after losing the first set tiebreak, looks like Ben is going to claim the second one, although now it's 5-2. Tight match, definitely. Almost 3 hours on the clock already. And despite a second set that went 6-1 Shelton's way, they are still more or less tied, although, of course, Ben Shelton might just run away with it, given he's now 5-1 up in the tiebreak. The minor in control over Koboli. I guess we didn't really expect anything else. The big question is whether he can beat Rublev, Korda, and then Sinner. Well, the biggest question is whether he can beat Sinner. Of course, he can beat Rublev or Korda. It doesn't mean that he will, but he can. And we also have Timofeyeva, I think, very close to securing the match now. She had a match point, now it's back to deuce, but she is 5-1 up in the second set, so it looks like Maria Timofeyeva will probably beat Beatriz Haddad-Maia. A bit of a disappointing showing, I think, from the Brazilian, given that at the slams she's generally been known to underperform before last year. And this was a really nice draw for her to get to the quarters, maybe, potentially. Of course, Kostyuk next round, that's not easy. I think that I would have considered more or less a 50-50. Timofeyeva also has some potential, so it's not like it's a horrific loss. It's not like Garcia losing to Freire, I think, or who was that? The second like terrible loss that day. Yeah, I can't remember now. I'm not talking about Pegula. like Davidovich Fokina losing to Borges, or like Garcia losing to Frank, or I can't remember. But on the same day that Garcia lost, there was another women's player who. Sakari, of course, losing to Avanesian, yeah. Who will like really be shooting themselves in the who are like really shooting themselves in the foot against an opponent who's like not particularly imposing. That's basically what I'm trying to say. And I think that Maya may be a little less in that category, maybe more so alongside Pegula or Burel, but that still more or less means that had to be treated as like a bit of an opportunity for sure. Djokovic sends this forehand down the line wide, which keeps Etcheverry in the game. 21 shots. Of course, as we mentioned earlier, it is fairly rare for Tome to win a longer rally like this in this match. For a while, Djokovic was really dominating them, so we are still a long way as well from reaching that 3-hour 50-minute mark that I mentioned. If anyone wasn't in the beginning of this, wasn't here at the beginning of the stream, that's basically Etcheverry's 4-0 perfect record in matches that have gone over that mark, 3 hours and 50 minutes. So if he wants to get there with Djokovic, he would really need to make the fifth set here. And then, I mean, if he does get it into the fifth set, then maybe he will win. But just getting it to the fourth set for now seems to be I don't want to say an answer to like a challenge that's not obtainable for him, but it's certainly not going to be easy. Especially as he hasn't even had a breakpoint on the Djokovic serve so far. 1-15-30 opportunity, which was very quickly resolved, both with a couple of makeable errors from the Argentinian and also with some solid play of Novak, especially on the 15-30, actual 15-30 point. But still, Etcheverry is at least holding in the set. 40-15, big serve. Again, nothing really that he can do to convert it, which means we are in the rally. But Djokovic sends a forehand wide, and we are now at 3 games all. Thunder and lightning here this morning. Is Etcheverry going to create a storm? I was actually just a couple of days ago, someone who is in Melbourne texted at the group chat that that like there's been thunder here, or like he's hearing thunder or something like that. And I said, is Etcheverry hitting a forehand? Which makes it funny that you're now mentioning it alongside that topic. But anyway, Shelton in round 4 also says John, and yeah, that's probably the bigger challenge for Djokovic, or at least theoretically a bigger challenge. Shelton is a bigger challenge to Djokovic in a way that Alicia Parks was a bigger challenge to Coco Gauff, you know? That she just doesn't give you rhythm, and if she's going to be redlining, she might win it. But if she's not, she might win 2 games. And I don't think Ben Shelton can win 2 games of Novak, or at least 2 games in 2 sets to make it more fair. But if we see a repeat of the US Open, it wouldn't be surprising. And by a repeat of the US Open, I mean a match where it was never really that close. Here we might just see 3 identical sets if Djokovic holds twice and breaks Etcheverry in the next game. 6-3, 6-3, 6-3. Of course, one of them would be with 2 breaks. 2 of them would be with just 1 break. But yeah, so far, it's hard to say that Etcheverry is really pushing Djokovic. Novak just seems in a bit of a cruise control mode, and as long as there's no threat to his serve, he does have like a very safe position in this match. Especially given that he's serving first, and he will be putting a lot of pressure on Etcheverry soon if he can just keep holding. Which so far hasn't been an issue for him, and if he keeps hitting backhands down the line like this, it won't be. But Etcheverry did recover and forces Djokovic to hit an even more insane backhand down the line. Okay, like, fine, yeah, sure. Djokovic is just going to do it, though. So, Yeah, the first backhand down the line was really good. Etcheverry almost got it back to neutral, but then I think he should have read that the next backhand was going down the line, because it was just like a perfect moment for Djokovic to hit it. Still, then again, an incredible shot, especially off a slice. So what can you do? But I do think that Etcheverry could have had the idea where Djokovic was going to go with that. Probably thought that if he plays a slice, then maybe Djokovic isn't going to be able to switch directions like this. But yeah, it's like the best backhand ever. So what can you do? 3 game points for Novak. Another smooth hold, it seems. Will he throw in a serve and volley this time, or any other plan? I think he was aiming to, however, he misses the serve. But of course, that's not a big deal. He misses a backhand, but it's still 40-15. So no harm done. Morning, sport and politics. We do have a lot of sport here. Politics, sometimes. Have we discussed on the channel the Nadal ambassador to Saudi Arabian tennis thing? Huh? By the way, that could be a controversial topic for some people here. Personally, I don't know if I care, but some might be in contrasting opinions here for sure. Especially as we have some people who are like Nadal fans on the team. And that's a pretty nice point for Etcheverry. He chases down Djokovic backhand drop shot this time, manages to get it back with interest, just with some topspin, and he then fires an overhead backhand volley to win the point. Still 40-30, so still one more game point for Novak to avoid falling into trouble in this game potentially. 40-30. And that's a good serve down the tee. Etcheverry gets it back. Now it's Novak maybe struggling to convert a little bit. Etcheverry goes back and down the line, and it is a really good shot here. So deuce from 40 love. Etcheverry has managed to get it to deuce. Ha ha ha. Yeah, I think maybe we are avoiding that topic. But anyway, as I said, it's not that I want to talk about it anyway, since I don't really have an opinion, I guess. Well, I do have an opinion, but I don't feel like even sharing it. Like I just, yeah, I'm very neutral about it. Can Etcheverry produce the first breakpoint of the match? Is the question now. Djokovic has him flying, but that's a nice forehand counter with a lot of loop from Etcheverry, and it lets him reset the point more or less. He also clips the baseline on the next forehand, but then misses a backhand cross. So again, just not as sharp as he needs to be, but then again, he played a very good point up until that last shot, so it's not like he was getting, consistently outplayed in this rally. He did get back into it with this sensational forehand on the run. But then, of course, he makes the error first, and that's been a lot of longer rallies in this match. Djokovic is not missing. Djokovic is making a lot of balls. Djokovic is just as efficient as it gets when it matters. And that's a big serve as well to set him up for 4-3. And the next game might, especially after this one getting pretty close, the momentum is with Djokovic. He will be looking for that crucial final break. Who knows? Maybe he might actually get it. I will just grab myself some water and we'll be back in 15 seconds. And I have to apologize to Vansh because apparently the extended highlights for every match actually exist. And I don't know. When I was trying to find Shapovalov Menchik last time, there was nothing on the channel. Wow. But yeah, now that he has sent me the link, I actually have the highlights that I was looking for a few days ago. But well, now they're not gonna help me. But apparently, they did exist. So sorry to Vansh, well, who must have been watching last week's whatever, yesterday's whatever. Whatever that show was where I was talking about it. Forehand drop shot from Etcheverry. Djokovic is not gonna get it over the net. So 15 all. Yeah, and now when I type them into the search engine, they show up. So I guess they must have ungeo-blocked it or something. Because anyway, 30 all here. So again, crucial stages really. Etcheverry just barely misses that serve down the tee, which would have helped him a ton. Djokovic misses a backhand now, so he is giving Etcheverry a bit of a helping hand to extend his adventure at the Australian Open here. But anyway, after 2 hours and 1 minute, we are at 4 games all. Etcheverry gets to four games in a set for the first time. And we are arriving at a moment where like one brief moment of dropping concentration can actually lead to him taking a set. Like it's not impossible anymore. Because the main question is whether it actually can happen, but we'll see. Because so far, of course, Etcheverry is still without a breakpoint on the Djokovic serve. I think we've had 3 points when he could have locked it up, 15-30, 30 all, and also deuce just this last game. But and Djokovic tries to go for an inside-out backhand winner, just misses it. We check out how Shelton has been doing, and maybe if Timofeyeva has already finished the match or not. Oh, she has another match point, but it's now at 5-3. So Maya is keeping herself in it, but it's another match point now. And I think there was even a match point in the previous game at 2-5. So it's been a fair few already, is what I'm trying to say. I guess one this game, one in this game. I guess it's been like 4 by now. I think Timofeyeva is on her 4th match point at 5-3. Really nice counter from Etcheverry, but the net court from Djokovic is gonna kill him. Yeah. Yeah, that's a bit unlucky for the Argentinian. Of course, he has to find something here pretty quickly if he wants to take the set. Maybe win it in tiebreak, maybe just keep holding, or maybe break Djokovic in the next 2 games. But this was rough. This could have easily been a 15-30 point for him. He slaps the forehand on the run, and then the net court is just ungettable. It's not exactly dead. He still makes the next shot, but he has to lift it for Djokovic to just put it away. 4th match point saved by Haddad Maya, so that match might still be interesting if she can keep delivering in these tough situations, in these pressure moments. Can Etcheverry find something here? Ooh, yeah, that's a pretty poor forehand miss here. And Alex de Minaur is also 2 points away from beating Flavio Cobolli. Looks like absolutely no fuss there in that match. Let me see if Demon even has been broken or something. Well, he has been broken once, but he has also broken Koboli 6 times. So that's a big difference, obviously. And yeah, Demon about to do what everyone is expecting him to, which is go to the second week, and then we'll see. Then the opposition steps up, and the quality of the opposition is going to be higher, and we'll see how he handles it. But Ben Shelton indeed took that 3rd set also against Mannarino, so he is 2 sets to 1 up. And that's, of course, the next rival for Djokovic or Etcheverry, as I've been mentioning a few times here. Who wins the 40-15 point? Djokovic with this slice that doesn't clear the net, but still 1 more game point for him. It's been getting a bit more scrappy on serve the past couple of games for Novak, but I don't think it's physical issues. Like it's not like in the previous matches, where when it was getting scrappy, it was mostly because Novak wasn't able to compete at like the highest possible level of his. But here it's getting scrappy, just like I guess, Etcheverry throwing stuff at him, and sometimes maybe there will be a crack. Who knows? But not this game. The serve to the Etcheverry forehand, and again he cannot quite position himself in time. And Timofeyeva has just beaten Haddad Maya as well, so She finally manages to convert one of these match points over 2 hours in a two-set match, which is more or less where we were middle of the third set here, but we do expect that from Haddad Maya. It was the fifth match point that eventually led Timofeyeva to victory. Timofeyeva will now play Kostyuk. So a Russian-Ukrainian battle in the fourth round. Everyone will be looking at the handshake. The Minor also has just eliminated Koboli, which means that I think we only have play on the main. Well, we also have Shelton and Mannarino, so we still have play on three courts today in singles. Djokovic Etcheverry, of course, will be followed up by Hunter Krejcikova, whereas after Timofeyeva, Haddad Maya has finished, Korda Rublev will be coming on soon. And Mannarino-Shelton also have to finish their match, which has been going on for a while now, basically over 3 hours, beginning of the fourth set. And this is the first moment where Thomas Martin Etcheverry is serving to stay in the match. 6-3, 6-3, 5-4. Will Djokovic be able to find the key break here already? John said Djokovic getting the break here at 8 minutes ago, so I guess it was the previous game of Etcheverry. But maybe he can claim that was about the 5-4 game if Djokovic breaks here. Down the line backhand from Djokovic again, hitting it beautifully today, finding it in his sleep. So it's 50-50 now. And this might be the moment when we see a lot of pressure and perhaps even the match being over soon, as Djokovic is now pressuring the Etcheverry forehand again in the rally. Again, it doesn't quite hold up against pace. So 30-15 for Novak, 2 points away from getting to the fourth round, where he would play either Adrian Mannarino or Ben Shelton. It's apparently an ace. Djokovic was also pretty confused. And yeah, when we see it on the close call, I think it was a second serve as well for Etcheverry. It just like barely clipped the line. But yeah, Djokovic was a little confused at first because he like couldn't believe that it made it in. But on the close call, we see where it landed. Etcheverry, big +1 forehand. Will he finally convert? Ooh, okay, yeah, that was a little sloppy. The smash wasn't great, but Djokovic's pass barely touches the top of the net. It was so close to making it through, in which case Etcheverry would have had a pretty tough volley, actually. So Again, he gets a good +1 forehand opportunity, but he doesn't quite take it. Still, he holds well, as Djokovic gives him a bit of a free point here, or at least a cheapish point here. Five games all, and 10 games into the 10 games into the third set. Etcheverry is still holding. Etcheverry is still in it. So I guess now that Haddad Maya lost, there will be no dancing on the streets of Rio de Janeiro tonight. How is Etcheverry serving? That was a question. I mean, perfectly fine. I just think there's an issue with him actually taking advantage of what the serve is giving him, rather than the serving, which the serving has improved a ton. It still probably can be better. You know, the guy is almost 2 meters tall. It's just that even when he gets a lot out of it, out of that first delivery, he's been struggling to convert it. He's been struggling to finish the point, even with his forehand, which of course is a really amazing shot. You know, and it's absolutely elite. It's just that it has its limitations in like maybe not being able to flatten it out consistently, not being able to turn it into a shot that's just going to end the rally on the first strike. And yeah, the fact that he only has like a 3 or something forehand winners in this match kind of tells you everything, I think, because there's been a number of opportunities like the one in the previous point, the last point of the 10th game, where Etcheverry fires a good serve and he has this inside in opportunity, but he like doesn't go through with it. I don't think it's a technical limitation though. I think it's more of a mindset type of deal. I think on hard courts he needs to go after it a little bit more. I don't think it would massively decrease his consistency either. Of course, he likes to play it very heavy, and yeah, it's an amazing strike. But like, no, this isn't really what he needs to do against Djokovic. He needs to have more free points, obviously. And up until this set, he wasn't really holding easily. This set, he's also the one who's generally more under pressure, right? So anytime he is back to neutral after the serve, it's not exactly advantage to him with how well Djokovic has been playing. And that, I guess, is the main thing, that usually Etcheverry is fine if the rally goes back to neutral. Against Djokovic, not necessarily. So he needs to go after it more. Yeah, he hasn't really been doing it. Also, Djokovic is playing in a way that in a rally he's not suddenly going to just keep the ball pretty short to the Etcheverry backhand corner and allow him to just go inside in, inside out, and just sort of stay flexible in that one part of the court. He's actually going to either play very deep to the Etcheverry backhand, or he's just going to switch to down the line, which has been a punishing sort of shot as well for Etcheverry here, with how smoothly Djokovic has been landing it. However, we might have a bit of an opportunity here. Again, a bit of a free error from Djokovic, at least for his standards. And it's 15-30 for the second time in this match. Etcheverry has that sort of an opportunity on the Djokovic serve. And of course, this time it also comes at like a pretty important moment. But there's that spot serving from Novak. The placement is just too good, and the opportunity is not gone yet, but it has, of course, been slightly diminished at least. 30 all. What can Novak come up with here? Is it going to be another super clutch serve? Well, it is good. It's not super clutch, but it is good. It has Etcheverry on the defense. Novak is also not exactly converting the opportunities that he has. Now backhand drop shot, and it's too good. Yeah. I think this time it was actually readable. I don't think that this guy's was perfect this time. Or like the opportunity, the moment when he hit it, it was pretty predictable. But it doesn't matter because it was just executed so well. And as I said, Etcheverry can look a little, I don't know, stocky when he's trying to go up and with the up and down movement on the court. So even though he is pretty fast, once he actually starts. Like once he actually kickstarts himself, gets out of the blocks, if you may, he is pretty fast. It's just that I think the first sprint, the reaction is pretty slow. And Djokovic has been taking advantage of it in this match a few times already. Of course, Djokovic with that one favorite drop shot that he has backhand down the line, backhand down the line, yes. But now he also hits a topspin backhand down the line winner. Again, Etcheverry just can't even attempt to run it down. So yeah, the backhand rallies, of course, Djokovic is the one who's gonna change directions. Djokovic is the one who's gonna find that backhand down the line without any issues. And Etcheverry is probably the one who just wants to trade cross court until he can lock up a forehand inside out. Except in the Djokovic matchup, he just kind of can't do it. Like, kind of can't pull it off consistently. And along with these issues of securing points after his serve, even when the serve is good, even when the serve gives him something. That was a pretty funny moment here as Etcheverry almost ran into the umpire's chair. Now we see a camera on Eva Zderaki and how she was really confused for a moment and like had to look around. For Etcheverry, she wasn't even sure where he landed. And is it now? Is it now that we're gonna have that break that we've been sort of expecting the whole set, really? The first point suggests so, but if I remember correctly, the previous game was also looking like it, and then it never really came to fruition. But yeah, this is the second time that Etcheverry has to serve to stay in it. Nice forehand down the line from Etcheverry. He plays a drop shot, which, well, I wanted to say that it's not going to be good enough, but that soft touch response cat and mouse from Djokovic is not exactly landing in, actually. I think he slightly mishit it. That's how it seemed by the trajectory of the ball. It was a good idea, though. But the Djokovic is clearly a much better sprinter than Etcheverry, though. Like the first few meters, just amazing. Still at the age of 36, and then again in terms of like speed, he's probably also just as good as Etcheverry, but definitely with a much better start. The initial reaction is just so much cleaner, so much quicker, and so much springier, if you may. 30-15 Etcheverry now, as Djokovic gives him that backhand now error here. And that's the tie break. So that break that we were expecting, it's actually not coming. It's actually been a set of 12 straight holds. we've actually had the 12 straight holds, and we get the tiebreak, which, as we know, tends to be quite random. But we're also witnessing a player who is the best tiebreak player ever, more or less. I think probably only the Federer can be around that. I think Djokovic has a better win-loss percentage in tiebreaks actually by now, but it used to be Federer for years, and I think it's pretty comparable still. But we also have the player who has been losing a lot less points on his own serve than Etcheverry. So I guess two advantages going Djokovic's way, sort of ahead of this one. But of course, we know it can be like even 11, 12 points more or less. So it is still fairly random. The sample size isn't that big. A few errors can really change the course of a tiebreak instantly, but let's see what happens here. Etcheverry backhand deep at Djokovic. But again, the backhand down the line for Novak, and it opens up the court for him. Etcheverry holding on though. He is defending really well. Forehand counter, but then Djokovic comes up with the forehand down the line. A ridiculous point. Like honestly, that's as good of a start to the tiebreak I think that you can get, because it's 25 shots, so you probably will be like breathing a little heavily on the next point. But it's really disheartening, I think, for Etcheverry. But that's just too good. Like there's nothing really he could have done here. Especially as that last counter from Etcheverry also seemed pretty good. Like I actually thought he might start regaining the initiative after it, but Djokovic says no. Just straight up comes up and says, no, you're not gonna be leading this point. This is mine. For 25 shots, I've been dominating it, and this is simply mine. And he was right. This was his. Mannarino close to securing a fifth set against Ben Shelton, which would be Mannarino's third consecutive fifth five-setter, and also kind of makes you question how he would be physically against Novak, I suppose. Which, yeah, I think Shelton might give us a more competitive match against Novak than Mannarino, also because of that, if indeed Mannarino wins in five. But for now, it's just 5-2 for the Frenchman, so I guess not done yet. The minor won, I said that earlier, and of course, Korda Rublev will be starting up soon. So just 4 more singles matches, 2 of them about to start, or at least one of them will start after Djokovic Etcheverry, one of them really about to start, and Mannarino-Shelton, Djokovic Etcheverry, the only 2 in play. Another deep return at the Etcheverry forehand now, and Djokovic has 2 mini breaks here. So I guess, that first point, yeah, just gave him so much here. Both the opportunity to be a little bolder, I guess, on the next couple of points, but also the real strength here to the momentum, the ability to strike without having to worry about the score yet. And he strikes with a couple of really good returns. So 2 mini breaks now. And let's see if Etcheverry can keep this any close or not. He can here, as that shorter slice is actually getting pretty unpleasant for Djokovic. And he misses the forehand into the net. So after 3 excellent points, there's 1 error. But for now, still 1 more mini break. And of course, it's not the end of the world either if he loses the other 2, given that this isn't exactly a match where the players are like, winning every single point on serve. It was never going to be a tiebreak where just 1 mini break decides it all, for example. But no, for now, he holds on to the advantage 4-1. Good serve again at the Etcheverry forehand, which I think when trying to handle pace has been very spotty. Yeah, again, gets a good serve in, tries to approach to the Djokovic backhand, but the pass on the slide is just way too good, Etcheverry tries to play a forehand volley, but it's in the net. Of course, a better volleyer could have taken that shot, but it's not really in Etcheverry's comfort zone. I still understand why he followed that shot to the net. Yes, I think it was the right play, even if him being slightly out of place in the forecourt. But the pass from Djokovic was also really good. Like you actually needed to have pretty sublime touch on the first volley to get it. So I get it, absolutely, sure. The streets of Rio, yeah, people on the verge of rioting. Like it's 2013. Was there a riot in Rio in 2013? I don't even know. Becker looks devastated after Rune loss, says John. Was he really devastated or is it a joke? I don't know, I guess. But anyway, 5-2 Etcheverry. He at least gives himself a fighting chance. But 2 serves from Djokovic right now. And even if he wins just one of them, then he will have 3 more set points or 3 set points. So he is in a great position here to lock up his spot in the forefront of the Australian Open for the umpteenth time. I could probably check it, but umpteenth also does the trick. 6-2, ace out wide for Novak, 6-3, 6-3, 6-6 in the tiebreak, 6-2, 4 match points. First time we have Novak in this position in the match, and he is stopping for something again. What's happening? Is he? I don't even know. Anyway, he's back at the baseline. Let's see what he can come up with. He can come up with an ace, which ends the match. For the third time since last May, Novak Djokovic defeats Thomas Martin Etcheverry. For the third time, it is in straight sets. However, he has gotten a couple of tiebreaks against him. I think for Edge, it's a fine showing. Like, he didn't lose because he was playing poorly. He lost because one thing, the opponent was too good, and also like had a lot of matchup advantages over him, and also he just still has hardcore limitations, right? And that's more or less it. I think Djokovic did very well to basically nullify the Etcheverry inside-out forehand in the rallies, either by just playing way too deep into his backhand corner or by countering backhand down the line, which really hurts Etcheverry in the backhand exchanges. And by backhand exchanges, I mean both backhand to backhand, but also backhand to inside-out forehand of Etcheverry. And yeah, I think Etcheverry, even if he's serving really well now compared to like the last couple of years, the conversion rate of like his +1 forehand, it's not easy for him. Like he can set himself up well with the delivery. It's just that converting it, especially against a defender and like Djokovic and someone who anticipates so well too. Yeah, he maybe wasn't going for that shot, wasn't going after that shot all that much, and I think that's maybe the only thing he really did wrong. Djokovic also sending him clapping his hands when Etcheverry is leaving the court. Lots of respect between the two. A warm hug at the net. But that's it for Thomas Martin Etcheverry at this year's Australian Open, which of course still is a very good event for him. He managed to beat Murray. He managed to beat Monfils both in straight sets, and ends up making the third round at a hardcourt slam, which I think is definitely more than he was expecting. And yeah, I guess this is more or less when we're going to be wrapping this up. Thank you guys for your attention, comments, and etc. Um, Mannarino-Shelton going into the fifth set. So if you want to catch an interesting match, definitely recommend that. Korda Rublev just starting up as well. And of course, after Djokovic, Etcheverry leave the court. Storm Hunter against Barbora Krejcikova is the last match on Roteliver Arena. We'll have the last ball drops for you, last ball drop show as well for you, whoever that will be with. And yeah, and of course, keep tuning into the channel. If you haven't subscribed already, subscribe. We had that 6K goal, which I don't think it's going to work out, but maybe you guys can surprise us still. And also, if not, then let's try to catch 5.5K, for example. I think all of these, that is actually very realistic, especially later on in the fortnight. But again, I'm very open to you guys just showing us that we can get 6K as well. That would be amazing. But anyway, thank you. And yeah, we'll see you on some other stream. Bye.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.
talking about like very inconsistent players as her rivals, but they are delivering. They have been delivering so far. We'll see if Linda Noskova does the same. And I think from the women's, we have one more thing that we should cover, and this is also in the title of this show, and that's Emma Raducanu going out to Yafan Wong. I don't know if it's quite as big a story, but clearly John wanted us to mention it since she's in the title. Yeah. And Emma, I think after her match was talking about her having a stomach bug or something like that. So maybe the fitness issues that we saw, maybe it's not simply, playing a couple of matches, which basically happened to her in Auckland and also now again. But maybe it was also connected to that. But all in all, just what are your thoughts going forwards as well on Emma and the comeback so far, the 2 tournaments that she's played?
Yeah, I mean, I was not really expecting, let's say a semi-final run from her. Plus against, an opponent which can be dangerous. She had this kind of issue. It's also a hard time coming back. We are seeing it. I think that the judgment from about her must be also postponed a little bit. I was not expecting an extraordinary Australian Open campaign from her. So I guess that winning one match, fighting hard in another one, maybe reaching the second week could have been a big win for her. That didn't happen. She could have faced Qin Wen, would have been maybe an interesting match. But I think that she just has and we just have to wait until a little bit more to start making some kind of judgment about her and their and perspective for this new season.
Yeah, doesn't seem like that was a big deal, but just some sort of stomach issue, and maybe also fatigue, but that's also something that can be handled. She got a lot of decent match practice in Australia. I do think that one round more would have been nice, like just get to the third round, lose to Qin Wen or win if she can, of course, why not? But lose to Qin Wen, that would be like a very realistic and acceptable result.
That's true.
Here, I mean, it's also not unacceptable, definitely not. Perhaps it's going to be slightly disappointing for her, but yeah, as you said, it's still early. I think she's still shown enough so far that she kind of makes you think that if she's going to be healthy for a year, she should be back up there and probably again, like in the top, whatever in the world. And
if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.